on the weekend, Sam?
Hey everyone, it's Warriors NRF Fanatics. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. Tonight I've got three special guests joining me. I've got Ash there, I've got Sammy Hewat from the SENZ radio, and the Warriorholic as well. It's probably the first time I've had Warriorholic on the channel this year. So I've been trying to get him on, but he's been very busy. So of course I've got Sam, who's been on the channel before. But hello to Ash. How you going, Ash? Good to have you on the channel again. And yeah, we'll get to Sam and Warriorholic. So how you going, Ash? How you doing?
Yeah, awesome, bro. Awesome over here in Australia, man. Like, really excited for this matchup this weekend against Melbourne Storm. But as me and Christian were talking about in the backstage too, that Titans game coming up shortly. I'm so keen to see the Warriors like back to form, back in Australia too. Hopefully the next game here. So really excited for that one coming up. But yeah, really, really happy over here in Australia, man. How you been?
Yeah, I've been great. And how about you, Sam? It's good to have you on the channel again. Hope you're doing well. You do a great job there with what you do on the SENZ radio. I really love following your stuff there, and good to have you on again as well. I hope you're doing well.
Thanks, mate. Doing very well. I'm on breakfast hours now, so I'm up at 4 a.m. and finishing at 9:30, and I'm on the course at 11. So I can put up with a lack of sleep. It's a great result for the rest of the day, but feeling a little bit tired.
Awesome. And yeah, Warriorholic, how you been?
Not too bad, brother. Not too bad. So I've been a bit hard to sort of catch up with, but working for a living this season, a little bit tougher than last year. So got to earn the cash first.
Yeah, awesome. It's great to have you guys on again. Great to have you, Ash on. I've had you on a few times, so it's good to have your insights, and of course Warriorholic as well, who I've had on the channel before, and Sam as well. So yeah, look, tonight we're gonna chat about all things Warriors, a few topics to discuss, go through and preview the game this weekend on Saturday against the Melbourne Storm, a huge game where the boys will be looking to win 4 in a row and try and state their claims for a top 8 spot and try and keep pushing up that ladder. And it's going to be a real good one on Saturday. I can't wait for that game. Really looking forward to it. And also, the next couple of weeks as well. We'll have a look at the fixtures coming up as well, and have a look at, your favourite Warriors and Melbourne Storm memories as well. We'll have a look at that as well. So as it's featured on this week's game. But yeah, we'll get into it. We'll say hello to everyone in the chat first. So hello to York. We've got York in the chat, Jono as well, and hello to Jose as well in the chat as well, the mod as well, the chat. So it's good to see you in the chat there as well. But we'll get into it. So starting off with, I want to get you guys' take on the Cowboys game just quickly. Just a little bit of a recap on the Cowboys game, although it's been passed. First things first, Ash, what were your thoughts on the win over the Cowboys? First, what did you take out of that game from the performance of the boys there?
Yeah, I felt like obviously a great performance, 42-12 against a Cowboys team. I know they obviously know Reece Robson and a couple of Origin players back into that lineup there, but I thought the boys really showed out, and especially a lot of our older boys that have been off with either injury or whatever, the whole AFB situation, and all those boys came back and played solid games, played unbelievable, especially coming off, those 2 games, the Panthers and the Dolphins game, where all our younger boys really stepped up and really showed these older boys, like, you just got to play out our game plan with full intent, conviction, run your hard lines, like players like Mitch Barnett throughout the time when all those other players are out, really showing the boys their way and becoming a leader of our team, which is so good to see. And then having our normal leader back coming off the bench with Tohu really steadied the ship in the middle period of that game, while, Webby really got like his combinations of bringing people on at the perfect time. His bench rotation was really slick in this game. I really noticed that. Like, there was a moment where the Cowboys were starting to find a little bit of momentum, and the next minute AFB comes on for his second stint and really turns the game over. We pretty much dominated start to finish. The run meters, 1,900 run meters to 1,300, like incredible stats across the board in general. And it's just now continuing to do this, continuing to grow, because when we started the season, we saw the ability of what the side has. We saw that little period there where we went for a little bit of a dip. We were a bit worried what's going on, what's happened with the boys. You know, we're starting to call for people's heads. It was a bit of a weird period there, but we're starting to get back on track again and hopefully just continuing to piece together performance after performance while we run, hopefully, into the finals this year.
Yep. And Sam, what are your thoughts on it? Because you did the commentary for that game. So what are your thoughts to the win over the Cowboys? Because I think a lot of us probably didn't expect although the Warriorholic said that he thought the Warriors would win pretty comfortably. Actually, from your prediction, he was quite confident. A lot of us weren't too sure there, but I was confident we'd win, but I didn't expect us to win by that much. So Sam, what do you reckon there? What were your thoughts on the game as a whole? Like how
the Oracle, the Warriorholic Oracle. The Warrior Oracle. I won't look back in hindsight and say that I did pick a massive win. I felt like I thought a couple guys would have big games. Like I thought Adam would have a massive game coming off, a couple of weeks out, and the media stories around that. And Mitch Barnett following on from Origin and what he would have picked up in camp and stuff. So I feel like I was feeling a few guys were going to have big games. And I remember saying to Aish before the call, I just said, mate, I reckon there could be some points here. I'm knowing that the Cowboys' defense was, I think, statistically the second worst or the second or third worst in that comp going into that weekend. Funnily enough, they had scored the second most amount of points after the Roosters. So it was sort of that whole thing of, score more points than the opposition. Sort of old Titans ways. But, I guess apart from that try in the first half, right at the end, I felt like that was almost a perfect 40 minutes. Just from the get-go to the end. I think the thing we've really nailed, and Webby always talks about this in the press conferences and stuff, is like that discipline and the errors. And you still make errors across the game, right? And you still give up penalties, but what the symptom of those 4 losses was doing that at just the worst time. So whether we're giving up the ball in our own end or we're giving away piggyback penalties or we're giving them easy meters out of their own end, we've almost just cut that from our game. And I just think that makes such a huge difference to not only putting yourselves in good positions, but also having your guys feel fresh and feel motivated and confident to, sort of attack down the other end. So, yeah, super impressed. And I would have loved a 50. Just to get rid of the Cowboys from the Premiership, as per history. But,
put the line through them.
I'll take 42.
Yep. Yeah, and Warriorholic, what were your thoughts on the game there?
I called it. I had a chat to one of the players a couple of weeks back before the Panthers game, and he said that Webby had basically come in. I think it was a Monday. They'd put together a tape of all of the little micro effort areas that weren't up to last year's standard and basically showed the boys and then sort of left them to think about it. And this guy just said, it was basically like a come to Jesus moment. And the confidence that he's spoken, I just knew there was no way they were going to lose it. And I just remembered back to last year. It's not like a road trip that we can't, overcome. So I just had this really strong sense of confidence that we'd do a complete number on them. Similar to this week, I just have that sense of confidence. If we deliver what we delivered in the weekend, the Storm will have to play the game of their season to beat us because they're not. I don't know about you guys, but I don't know if it's so much the errors. It was just the sinking, the timing for that middle period of the season. So many times you'd see the runner just overrun the ball like. Jackson Ford getting errors wasn't the fact it was his hands, it was getting passed to his shoulder. So little things like that I think we've really got right. Probably that week off, a chance to work on combinations. It's just what the Warriors should be. Isn't it funny? You go back 3 or 4 weeks and you kind of felt like, oh shit, this isn't going to turn around. It's just a couple of little tweaks. Game on. And Tamati Martin.
Exactly.
SJ leaves and our window's over. Sam, maybe not.
What was that?
Remember we were talking at the start when Webby first came that like the window was only until really when SJ left and then we'd probably be in a rebuild. I think we can reassess that now.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, for sure. Well, now James Fisher Harris coming in, that gives us a little sort of extended window as well. We just have to keep renaming the windows every time. The AFB window, the James Fisher Harris window.
Yeah, just going to the into the chat. I've actually got a super chat from someone on YouTube here. So I've got a super chat from York. Just get it up. Yeah, so super chat from York. He's a Roosters fan. He's actually been donating a lot lately. So shout out to York. 30.99 super chat. So appreciate that, York. Really appreciate the support. And he's saying go the Wars from a Roosters supporter. So yeah, big shout out to York there. Appreciate the super chat. Yeah. And Jose is just giving you a bit of a compliment here. Sammy, he's saying you love huge fan, Sammy Hewat. Love your weekly shows with 682 rep Anthony Gulling. Just love the work. Yeah, definitely. But just my quick general take out of the Cowboys game was, obviously the attack really clicked into gear. Actually, Tamari was awesome. Like the way he went about it. Him leading the way with our attack as well, and of course our forwards as well, the AFB and Jackson Ford at prop. What were you guys thoughts see on Jackson Ford and how he went? Because I think Jackson Ford there playing in a position where he's not played it before. He did a great job. So yeah, what were your thoughts there on that one, Ash? What were your thoughts there on Jackson Ford there?
Yeah, I thought it was incredible. I felt like we just simplified his game, and that was a big thing for Jacko. Like I know for majority of like the start of this year, errors started to really creep into Jacko's game a lot more, and it started to get noticed by a lot of fans out there with us, especially running those really deep, hard lines. Like he runs a beautiful line. It's just those little parts of like the end part, just catching the football, get over the advantage line, gets you in, like, all that little things that he kind of like was having moments in. Like he had a couple of games there where he was doing well under error rates and stuff like that. But I think moving him to the middle really amplifies the best parts of Jackson Ford's game. And that's just these like high work rate. He's going to get through a ton of tackles. He's going to do the hard work through the middle. And then when you have someone like, I think by, half time, he was already down like, I think in 9 to 10 runs and got up to like 120 or 120, something like crazy stats within that first half. Like when you start looking around at players doing that much work in the middle, it's really hard for all those other boys on the edge to say like, I'm going to have a night off here. It's like, we got to get on the back of that. And I think he really helped that with our team there. And like, again, like for Jacko, as I said, like it just, all he has to worry about in that instance is catch the ball, hold on to the ball, make your run, get your hit ups and make your tackles through the middle. And he did that flawlessly, I thought, in my opinion. I thought he was really, really good for the middle. And even in moments too, like his line running still is there too to create the shift on the outside. I think Dylan Walker was using him as the decoy a lot of the times with his link player there. And, he had that one, moment early on in the game where he ended up causing the obstruction. But other than that, I thought just throughout the whole game, he was like pretty much flawless. Like ended up with like close to 200 meters run. Like it was really good to see out of a player that a lot of people have spotlighted as in like an error-riddled player and all that. I think it's just simplified his game. He can get through his work, and I think we're all going to fall in love with him. Like the more you see the amount of work he's going to get through, I think people like Warriors fans will like start to really fall in love with him, honestly.
Yep. And Sam, what are your thoughts on Jacko's form there and that prop as well?
Yeah, I agree with Ash about the simplicity of his role. I also like Ash made a really good point. We talking about why he would be playing at prop, and you guys will like Zane. I know you guys will probably more across the rotations of like the props, but Jacko can obviously go for a long, like he's just got a motor. He's got an absolute engine, like fittest in the team, and so he can actually go for longer than say our starting props can. So Ace was saying that maybe what was happening in that middle period where we slumped was you had obviously Adam coming off for his first break. You're pulling off maybe Mitch for his first break, and at some point you're taking off, Tohu or a second row, whoever it might be. Having Jacko be able to play through that period, or at least some of that period, makes a massive difference for then when those guys, you obviously can stagger bringing them back in. And I thought that was it was a great observation from Ash, and I thought made a massive difference as well. You mentioned Ash, the master strokes of the interchange from Webby. And I wouldn't say he struggled with the interchange in that sort of 4-week period where we were losing games, because I don't think it was his fault. But you could tell we weren't getting that right, with who we were rotating in and who was on the field. Because I mean, Adam, would come back on, and all of a sudden we'd come back and we'd score 20 points and we wouldn't allow anything. So I thought a great touch. Whether Jacko stays there, I guess, or goes back there as TBC, but I'd love to see it. Maybe for certain games, where we know there's going to be a bit more of a grind in the middle, guys might get a little bit more tired, maybe this weekend. But I was impressed for sure.
Yeah, and Warriorholic, what do you reckon there on forward?
I think being able to play the first 65 minutes of a game completely freed up all the other rotations, right? So not one player in the forwards played 80 minutes, which I think is a smart move. It was interesting. I like Tohu off the bench. I didn't really think he'd suit the role, but man, the energy and speed he was running with, I think that sort of brought that second impact of a big guy coming off the bench. But I would say Jackson stays there because the tough one for me is what you do with Capewell. I don't really feel like he's a bench player, but having both Mitch Barnett and Marata on the edges is so huge, and that's what Jackson allows him to do. I highly expect him to stay there. Fitness-wise, he handled it okay. I like he doesn't step; he's got a swerve. So you see when he took the back fences, he would come like this, and then so he really big straight-on collision because the other guys aren't quite as agile. So you've got AFB with his late step and Ali, but having that swerve, I think it was outstanding. I mean, my big question on him is what happens between now and November, because he's off contract at the end of next year. I've heard he likes New Zealand. He's got a lot of positive to say about Webby, but does he get homesick for that St. George jersey? I certainly hope not.
The Tohu thing as well. I feel like Walker was also doing more of the ball playing. So Tohu didn't really have to put any effort in there, right? It was just carries and tackles, which is what he's the best at. So to your point, Zane, I think obviously coming off the bench, having a simpler role like that just works wonders. That'll be interesting to see how they do that one moving forward too.
I was surprised they went back to that. Like I liked him off the bench. The speed of Walker's passing, everything was swifter. And I was talking to, I can't remember who it was recently, but I felt like, a guy like Carrigan was a big difference between us and the Broncos with the speed he played at. And I feel like Walker plays with that. I don't know. It's a tough course for Webby. Good ones.
I feel like, what really helped there too, like, in those periods where we were starting off with a bang, right? Would get up a couple of tries or very early tries that looked like it was coming easy for us. And then obviously the big interchange of Adam Fanor-Blake and that coming off the field. Tohu would have spent, probably about a good 20 or 30 minutes in that stint there. He's obviously get through a ton of work, as we know Tohu does. So when we go through that middle part of the field, middle part of the game, we do seem a drop off there. A lot of times it's like very loose around the rock, those sort of moments there with Tohu. When he comes off the bench, it's very much like he's fresh, but he's also the leader, the Tohu that we love, and he knows what can get us to the halftime hooter in between there, you know what I mean? So he can direct the boys really well. And within those certain minutes there, I think he was a really shining light of we started off with a bang with Dylan Walker, our attack seemed slick, but in those middle parts of the game, it was like Tohu, everyone holding together. He really continued that momentum all the way through until we had to bring the second injection of Adam Fanor-Blake and all that back into the game. So it didn't feel like we lost the step too much, which is what a lot of people have pointed out for the start of our season there is we'd start off with a bang, and then when we bring off Adam Fanor-Blake, Mitch Barnett, these sort of players, we go through a little bit of a lull. And I think the experience of Tohu and the freshness of him coming off the bench really helps that. So I wouldn't be surprised if Webby does make another change again, 24 hours before the game, and that, as we know Webby loves to do currently right now. So by the team list, now I never really go by the first team list right now anyway. When you look at it, I'm just like, I know something's going to happen. I don't know when it's ever going to be like the team list we see Tuesday is going to run out. But yeah, I'm excited to see what other plans he really has, because everyone's so versatile in that forward pack too. So there's so many different looks he could really run out there with.
Yep. Yeah, Jose is just saying here, fresh Tohu is the best Tohu. And I was gonna ask you, and you guys already covered on it around regards to Tohu coming off the bench, and I think that was that. I thought that was a good move by Webby. I actually liked what he did there. A fresh Tohu coming off the bench provides a bit of impact, and I thought he played well coming off the bench. Really, I think the next couple of weeks look at what they're going to do. They're going to give him less some minutes. Are they going to do that? Are they? What do you reckon there? First on, I'll ask Sammy this time. What do you reckon there on the Webby doing this? The minutes. How many minutes is he going to give Tohu? Is he going to ease him back in, or is he going to go back to playing a full 80 this week? Or
well, I don't think he'll play the 80, but yeah, talking. Oh, we had Tohu on the show yesterday. Go check out the podcast channels, SENZ Radio. And he talked about excuse me. He talked about where we said to him, during that full week, just for him personally, what did he struggle with the most, and what did he sort of have to fix on his own? And it was really quite cool. He talked about, how mentally challenging it was, but how Webby basically just said to him, I want to give you a break. I feel like he's got he's had a couple of niggles that just weren't going away, and he just needed some time off. And I think we saw the result of that on the weekend. So, that was only, 11, 12 rounds into the season that Tohu needed that break. So we've basically got another 11 or 12 games to go. You'd think at either some point he's going to get another rest, or his minutes will be managed. He won't be playing 80 minutes, and he might be coming off the bench in certain games. So I think moving forward, that probably is the new role for Tohu, just to make sure that, to everyone's point, that he's fresher. Those niggles have time to, go away or not get worse. And we'll get the best out of Tohu in that regard. He was really open and forthright about that, which I thought was really, really cool, and almost accepted that, that's what he needs to do to be his best self. So I think that's what we'll see moving forward.
Yeah. What about you, Warriorholic? Do you reckon the minutes he's getting at the moment, or?
I don't know. It's hard to guess what Webby's thinking, mate. But I like it. I hope they don't get back into playing him sort of 80 and AFB up around 70 minutes. They've got to kind of control that fatigue. And I thought they got it exactly right. But like I said, my only question mark, I guess, is around Kurt Capewell. Like he's a similar guy. He's out there and grinds for 80. He's not really an impact guy. What I'm really curious to see is Sifakula playing at prop this week for the cup team. But he's carrying it. I don't know if it's intentional. He's way bigger than last year, right? He's listed at about 1.84 or something in the Warriors page, but he was saying he's 1.90 m, probably up over 110 kg, but he seems to be carrying it okay. And I think about having a guy like him in that spot who can cover an edge, lock, and prop could be a real smoky towards the end of the season. But you're going to see some really quality players playing in cup over the next sort of month. Other than that, I'd love to see him stick with a similar rotation. And I like Tohu coming off the bench because, like you say, if he comes on, say, who came off first? Was it Murata?
I think Murata. It was, I think it was either Murata or it was AFB. I think AFB went for a little bit longer, but we'll go with Murata, Yeah,
but so then you can bring him on after, say, 25 minutes once the hard work's been done by, particularly defensive-wise in the middle, that he's normally doing all that. And then he's having to carry through that period before and after half-time when AFB's off. I prefer to bring him on for AFB, and that way you've got two real big bodies, one for the other. But goodness only knows what Webby's thinking.
Yeah, 100%. And on that point with Sifakula too, my bro, I think a good 10 kilos is added in with that mullet that he's growing, man. Like that mullet is proper at the moment, man. Like seeing him get out there, it's so good to see Sifakula get back there. And you're right, he looks so imposing in New South Wales Cup at the moment. Like he looks bigger, stronger, faster than a lot of the competition around him as well. So, guys, make sure you tune into our New South Wales Cup team, lately, especially with a lot of our first grade boys dropping down because of the team list that we have and the depth that we have. It's we've got some boys down a cup. You want to be watching. Halasima's another one of them. It's good to see.
Yeah, it's on Sky 4 for Kiwi fans. I think it's about 2:30 game on Saturday. So it'll be on telly, but he seemed like a man amongst boys after his stint in first grade last year, but he's just grown so much. And I said to him, bro, good luck for it. His response was, I'm coming for it all, brother. I'm coming for it all. Goosebumps and smashing, bro.
He's a freak, man. He is a freak. I can't wait to see him in first grade again.
Yeah, we've definitely look watching a lot of the just watching and following the Cup side this year, and we've got some great players, young players coming through as well with that other with the Harold Maths team as well. Who won the comp this year in their first season as well, and had a chat to the Harold Matthews Cup coach. Actually had him on the channel only a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, it was good to get his insight onto the team as well. So yeah, we've got some.
Speaking about props, boys, don't sleep on Kobe Crosby, man. He's my new
beast.
man crush.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's a
Interviewed him
beast,
today,
bro,
boys. So I'll look forward to
nice.
that. He's that boy. He's saying he's dropped down to about 106 kg, but he runs 11.3 or something for 100 meters.
Jesus.
What do you say? Meter 87, 106 kg, and running that fast, bro. He's for feeder.
He's every bit of it, bro. And another one too that's been stepping up lately. I feel like I've really liked what I've seen from like Tupanua, like Tony Tupanua. I think he's really stepped up his game, especially with like Sifakula, Mai'uu, and all these boys around there in Cup. Like I think he's finding that competitiveness to be like, all right, I got to step up too and show my ability. And like another big body that can do a bit of work through there. I've really enjoyed his game through Cup lately too. So
high knees, really fast runner, eh?
Yeah. And with seeing that Satili's getting shopped around by the Roosters and stuff, like who knows? Like I don't think we need Satili, but like, you know what I mean? Like if there was like anyone to lure someone like that over for lesser money in that, like if he wants to go like unders 500s, like come over, brother, like, you know, join the boys, playing Cup if you want to. I don't care, but it'd be good to see the brothers reunite. But yeah, these are all the boys that we could be seeing in the bench spot because, as you said, Warriorholic is like the thoughts of Kurt Catewell being on the bench and being a major signing this year. It's not really working out currently right now. Like the thoughts on any of these younger boys. So do check out our New South Wales Cup team, guys, for all the talent coming up and all that. And it's really exciting.
Yeah, just have a look into the live chat here, some comments. Jono is saying here, Mayu will be out for 5 weeks. So it makes sense trying to see if we call that prop. So
yeah, did you guys see that tackle when he got his leg smashed last weekend? He just literally cannoned into these two guys and kind of got one from each side, and his leg just like bent sideways. Poor bugger. He walked off though, so it wasn't too bad.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on this comment here from Jose? Is saying here, so every game we cover for Egan at Tohu, probably Dylan Walker and CHG are locked in for a bit, I'm guessing. Do you reckon that's the case with Dylan Walker and Chanel Harris-Davida? Because they're playing him off the bench this week. And I asked this with Ash before we went live. Do you guys reckon that that CHG will get that bench spot moving forward? Do you reckon he'll keep that 14 spot? Or do you reckon they'll go in the other direction? Or is this the way they're going to go forward?
Yeah, I'm really excited, like, because I think Chanel offers like a little bit different to like when we have Freddie. Obviously, Freddie is a hooker. Like Freddie doesn't really cover any other position but being a hooker. Defensively, he's really sound, and I enjoy like seeing a little bit of his development. He's slow developing, but he is developing. But Chanel, he can cover so many different positions. He wasn't as bad in hooker as what I kind of envision. I know a lot of people are like, he's going to be gunning hooker, but I was like to start with going like, people got to understand he is a taller body, and to get down to the play the ball and play it off the ground, like it's really tough. Like I know when I was going for my juniors, I played hooker pretty early on. Then when I grew up, like, you know, got taller and that, the coach just pushed me out to the wing and to the centers. He was like, no, you can't be playing in the middle there because you're too tall. It takes a while to get down to the ball, those sort of things. But Chanel does it really well, but he also can cover so many other different positions there too. And even can come on in that 13 look as well. We've seen it, obviously, I think in the Manly game, he came on in a stint through the middle and looked really good there too, I thought. I really do think that should be a spot that we're going to keep there for Chanel being that 14 man, because he can cover so many different positions. And the added versatility of Dylan Walker, him, you know, you got even Kurt Catewell, you got Murata that can play in the center and all that. We can cover so many different positions with our bench. Chanel, yeah, he's definitely my 14, definitely for the future. But what's your thoughts, guys?
Yeah, I reckon if he's fit, Paul Roach is ahead of Lussick now, just his passes, man, and he really surprised me. I think he's one that I always had massive raps on watching him come through, but then when he sort of struggled a bit in that final round last year when the pack was going back, when I watched him in Cup, he didn't stand out, but then I realized he'd been playing halfback. rather than hooker. But when he came on, man, he was crisp. So shame that he got that ankle injury. But I feel like Chanel is your utility. But if it's Egan, who's a bit dodgy and you need a hooker, I'd probably go for Roach personally. I think Lussick really I mean, I'm a big fan, but he needs to kind of step up that passing game. I don't know.
Yeah.
But you, Big Sam?
Well, I find it funny. Like I've always looked at teams and interchanges and being like, oh, you know, we need someone to cover this and this person to cover that person, and what if this person gets injured? And when we were talking to Webby a couple of weeks ago, it was real interesting to hear him say that he basically picks 1 through 16 the best players. He doesn't care where they play. He doesn't care what position they are. 1 through 16 are the best players possible. And then the 17th person is a player that he basically says to, hey, look, you know, he might say to them before the game, you're probably not going to play tonight. Unless there's an HIA or something gets injured, you're probably not coming on. You're not part of the plans that I have for 1 through 16. And I find that really interesting because we spend so much time, you know, debating who should play where and whether this person's going to come into this position, whatever. And Webby's just basically thinking, I've got 16 of my best players on my roster and I'll find a way to put them on the field and, you know, react. Work them. And it's interesting as well. I see this comment from Chris about like Jackson Ford, is he too small to be in the middle? And I was just thinking, that's why I was zoned out for a second there. I was thinking, well, you know, Ruben Cotter was like one of the best players in Origin last year. Guy plays in the middle and he's tiny. So
he's 95 kgs, right?
Yeah, he's made. I could probably take Ruben Cotter. Well, that's a
sure you could.
But you know, I think as well, we still one of my favorite podcasts, actually. If you ever get a chance to go and listen to the Warriors Life Boys talking to Webby, you know, before he even arrived at the club way back when, and they talked to him about his philosophy around forwards and whether, you know, you should pick big guys or his sort of philosophy. And I guess he started talking about how the game's changed. You know, you can have more dynamic, smaller guys in the middle that will obviously wear down. I mean, look, how many genuine big boppers are there left in the NRL? Like Josh Papali'i is one of the dying breed, and he is slimming down. Like, the guy's lost a ton of weight. So, I think Jacko's fine size-wise in the middle, and just because he's such a workhorse, like I think he makes up for it with, you know, effort.
You just got to look at Fisher Harris's size, man. He's about 1.85 m and 104 or 5 kg. He looks way bigger because of his biceps, but he'd be pretty much the same size and weight as Jackson Ford. And Marata's the same size as Fisher Harris. And
Tarpany's pretty, you know, Tarpany's not a bulky prop either. No, you know, he's
none of them are as heavy as AFB. He's the heaviest guy that I've previewed this year of all of the props by probably 5 or 6 kgs. Most of the other guys are around the 110, sort of 112 mark max. So I think energy-wise, and he's just like one of those guys who carries it well. He's like a ball of muscle, and just bounces off, keeps coming.
Yeah. Yeah, and like a lot of those names that you were bringing up before, like Fisher Harris, he started on the edge when he came through at the Panthers too and got moved into the middle and started to work there. Like, I can see that definitely happening. And another like stat to add with you about the smaller packs and like how this game's sort of evolving at the moment. The best team for limiting run meters currently in the competition right now is the Bulldogs. And they're one of the smallest packs in the competition. They're barely getting some top big boys even at their club currently right now playing middle. They have Josh Curran playing at front row as rotation off the bench. Like, that should tell you everything about the competition right now. Like, Ruben Cotter's of the world, you know, Josh Curran's of the world. Even like you're looking at Origin, you got Cam McInnes playing in the middle. Like, I think, you know, the new era of rugby league, it's the evolution of rugby league now. I think it kind of is full circle because we saw it a little bit in the earlier, like 2000 season and stuff where you had a lot of smaller bodies that got through a ton of work and that. And then when we got to like the late 2000s, 2010s is when you started to get those big boppers. Like the Bulldogs pack was well known for that. Like you had Pritchard, you know, Cassiano and all these boys just pumping out 20 minutes, pull them off, add another 20. The game's completely changed now. The 6 again just like ruins a lot of that these days. So having someone like Jacko that just will look, he's legit a dog without a lead. Like you take him off the lead, he's just going to keep running and keep running and keep running. Like he's legit like my dog currently right now. Like she's the energon, like she just keeps running around the yard out, doing crazy stuff. That's Jackson Ford, and that's what I love about him. We saw him on the edge. He kind of got limited a lot there. Like, he wants to try and get through as much work. Getting him in the middle, he's just going to continue to make runs and make line break, like all that sort of stuff. Like, I love having him in the middle. I don't think he's small enough at all.
Yeah. Just actually look at the chat. John is saying it's crazy to think how versatile Adam Fanua-Blake is with his weight. So
as far as motor goes, he's up there with Payne Haas, right? He can play 80 if he has to. I can't comprehend it. I'd fall over, run into the bloody front gate, and I'm nowhere near his size. Hey, I got a couple of I got a random one for you guys. Like, looking at the depth that we're developing, and particularly like in the outside backs, you've got guys like C.L. Carley and that coming through. I find it hard to really see Ed Cossey, and particularly with the way the NRL's going, becoming an NRL wing again. And I feel, man, 20-minute edge back rower off the bench. You know, like, he's a massive body. He'd be as big as Olakau'atu and those sort of guys. And he runs a lot harder than most of our outside backs. Oh, I'd quite like to see that. What do you guys reckon?
Yeah, it'd be an interesting one, bro. Like, he definitely is a bigger body. He's like, he does get through a ton of work when he can get through. The only question is to that is, like, if we do that for him to become a second rower, and even then, like, you're seeing it at a wing too, is like whether he has the ability to get into first grade, like whether that will be just his ride off in first grade anyway. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think he's got the ability. I think he just needs confidence under him these days too, and to try to relearn a new position. He'll suit it 100%. It's just, like, whether he'll come into our first grade squad as an edge back rower, I'm not too sure about. But I love where your head's at, because I don't think he's a big enough body, and it'll probably limit a lot of the errors out of, like, you know, taking the high ball or, you know, out of the back end, that sort of stuff, where he could just focus on hitting strong lines and being, as you said, a big body, tackle break ability. Like, it will suit him. It's just, I don't know with the team that we have now whether he'll get back to first grade that way, and I don't know.
I just don't really feel like you can play him on the wing anymore, because, like, who else has got a wing that size? It's just his ability to turn and stuff. And I love him as a player. And if he makes it, he doesn't. I'd just be really curious to see, because you just never know. Who was his name? The big winger from Manly did it as well. T-Rex.
T-Rex, yeah, came into the centre. Yep.
What do you reckon, Sam?
Yeah, well, I think, like, maybe this is the way that the game's heading as well, where, like, mate, this might be a massive call. I actually feel like there almost isn't a body type in rugby league anymore. Like, there was a time where, and maybe hooker's the only exception. You're talking about, like, the height thing, Ash, but, like, across the park, you know, when you look at teams across the NRL and how their halves look, you know, you can have teams like Manly where you've got Luke Brooks, who's a sort of nuggety little half, with a, you know, Daly Cherry Evans, who is just this more athletically built sort of half. And then you can go to, like, the Dragons, where you've got, like, Ben Hunt, who's more of, like, a stocky, you know, almost like a 13 or front row that plays in the halves. And then, you know, take your pick, like the Eels.
Meter 90.
The Eels are two very athletic looking halves, you know, two sort of tall, big shaped guys. And then, you know, to stretch this out, you know, go to fullback, and you've got guys like, you know, Chance and maybe Teddy, who are a little bit bulkier. Then you get these tiny little Jaden Campbells and, you know, other guys running around the back. And then, you know, we fleshed it out to the wingers, and, you know, we all know the Warriors love taking a winger and putting him in the front row, and that's happened in the past. You know, like, it's fun. It's funny to me how the body type of rugby league has changed now, where you can almost, regardless of your size, almost play anywhere. So, like, Ed Cossey, throw him on an edge, yeah, of course, 100%. Like, you know, throw him in the middle. Like, I feel like as long as their attitude and their skill set suits that position, I think body shape wise, any of them can almost play anywhere. Unless, you know, like I said, the hooker's maybe the only one where you generally will have smaller guys anyway. So maybe those guys.
Look at halfbacks in rugby now. You've got halfbacks who are $1.90 m. They're getting down to pass the ball, and Egan's $1.85 m. Was it $1.85 m, 86? At hooker, and you don't notice how tall he is. So it's, I don't know. It's just one. I just feel like he's going to struggle, because you've got these young, really quick guys like Pasikala and Sial Kali and that coming through, which that's one thing I feel like we lack a little bit, is like when you come up against the Manleys or guys like the Hammer, their top end speed. We don't really have that. We saw, like, you know, Dallin, how quickly he gave up on Drinkwater the other night. So he's quick off the mark, And I feel like looking through the New South Wales Cup, it's probably Sio Kali or Pasikala.
Yeah.
Both those guys have got top end. That long term, you'd imagine that's where you're going to go, right? I don't know, but then you've got RTS question. Where does he come back to play as well? He could be on the wing. So it's just there's a lot of, I don't know. He's a guy I'd hate to lose, and he's like probably the second biggest body in the club behind Tohu.
Yeah. I think it's definitely the depth of the big winger is really, we're kind of seeing it a lot more now. Like Brian Toto is doing a lot of what Manu Vatuvei and all that were supposed to be doing back in the day, you know what I mean? The big meat eater and all that. Like we've seen it with like someone like Kenny Mabalo that was incredible for us for that little period there. I know he had an error or two in his game, but when we had Fuss and Kenny Mabalo on the side, like we had two of the most like high, like meter eater, two like heavy big bodies on the edge, just getting through their work, getting into the good field position. And then like Kenny can't even get a start at the Gold Coast Titans right now. That really like, I think they released him. I think he's only playing at Burleigh right now. Just like the manager's trying to get a contract somewhere. Yes. I feel for him because at one point I loved Kenny. I was like, Kenny could come back, bro. But honestly, right now I'm just like, I kind of don't want Kenny back. And like, you can't see the upside of these big boys anymore if they got errors in their game, like, you know, the drop balls and all that sort of stuff that we've seen with a lot of the big wingers in the past. You want to have finishing ability too. You know, you got like players like Dallin that can finish in the corner, and you know, Xavier Coates is a big one that can finish in the corner at any sort of angle. Like you want wingers like that these days, and even like, you know, the smaller wingers are getting through just as much work as the big boys. So I think it might be the death of the big winger. It's really, really, it's crazy to see. It is crazy to see.
I think anyway. I could be wrong, but I feel like in my memory somewhere, the year that Fuss was the leading try scorer, I think Ken led the run meters. And I think the next year it flipped. I think Ken was our leading scorer and Fuss led the run meters. So, yeah, it was either they were scoring or, you know, they were getting meters. So, yeah, it's funny how that is sort of disappeared a little bit. But
where do you guys reckon RTS comes back? Is he going to play in the centres or on the wing or on the bench? Imagine him coming off the bench into the middle in the last 20.
You got any thoughts on this, Sammy, before I jump in? What do you reckon? You're talking to gelling, you're talking to age food. What do the boys think? Like, do you reckon Santa? Do you reckon off the bench? Have you heard that talk? What are you thinking?
I certainly haven't heard, like, I don't think that they've heard anything as to what the plans are, but I think, mate, I honestly just have no idea. And you know, it would have been interesting if he had come in this week against the Storm, because I was saying this to the boys as well. If it sort of went wrong, if Roger and Sean came back in and it sort of went all wrong, and you know, the attack sort of got stifled again, be really hard to know if that was the reintroduction of those two or if it was the Melbourne Storm. Like it sort of sucks that it's the Melbourne Storm we're coming up against this weekend, because with Sean back in, it's like all the questions are going to be asked if we don't win, and if the attack isn't there, oh, you know, Sean, he's not the guy, when really it could just be that it's Melbourne doing Melbourne things and shutting an attack down. So it's going to be interesting when he comes back, you know, whether, depending on who it's against, and I guess where he plays. But I did feel like, I think you guys will agree that, you know, him in the centres, that left side just wasn't going anywhere. And it'll be interesting to see whether with Tamaiti and how he's been able to shape his game over the last couple of weeks, if now when Roger comes back and we're able to unlock Roger and unlock that left edge with him in it, or whether when he comes back in, it's like actually maybe he was, you know, the reason why that left edge wasn't working. In which case I would put him on the wing, because I think he's able to get through a bit more work. He's able to get his hand on the ball a bit more particularly back. And the one thing that just hasn't really happened for me is, you know, Webby spoke about at the start, Roger playing like a Joey Manu role where he comes in and he plays in and around the middle and he's getting his hand on the ball all the time. I haven't seen that from Rog. Like that was talked about a lot, and it just hasn't happened. So I think, me personally, I think I'd like him on the wing. But in saying that, look, Marcelo's had a great last couple of games. He's stepped up big time. So, you know, the thought of not having Roger in the team is bizarre. But I don't know, man. It's
But he got moved to the wing, right? The week that's why Marcelo went down to cut.
He played his best game at the wing this season, and we arguably played our best game with him on the wing. Yeah. You know,
so it was going to happen, but unfortunately, he pulled that hammy, and we didn't get to see. And then Marcelo, to his credit, he would have known he was coming back to NRL the next week anyway, but he carved it up in Cup. but shit, I mean, I've joked about it on my channel saying I'd like to see him go to Cup for a week, run 250 meters, score a couple of tries, tackle at 95%, and just show that, right, I'm ready to charge, rather than just dropping a guy like Montoya, who's, to his credit, he was quiet during that rough period, but he flicked the switch. He's tackled at 100% the past 2 games. What's he doing wrong?
Oh yeah,
it's big. But see, like for me, like I'm in 2 minds of this, because like I saw I don't know. Yeah, I saw a lot of positives of Roger at centre. I know a lot of people didn't really see a lot of positives of Roger at centre, but I saw a ton of positives there. It obviously wasn't happening to a better click because that left side wasn't really utilizing him to the best of the ability. But for me, it was like, he had 3 to 4 games at that center, like 80-minute performances at center. There was other games that he was at center that got moved to the fullback, got moved to the wing during mid games due to people coming off. It sucks, is like, because we're mid-season now, we can't afford to really continue to like trial it as well and really hope that it's going to go well there, you know what I mean? But like, I still would love to see, because I think he could be a premier center, and I think we all agree, like, wherever Roger could put his mind to and we get it out of him, I reckon he could be one of the best in that position. But like, for the team currently right now, what's his best spot for Roger? That's the big thing as well. And with like the point, obviously, where we were talking about like using him like a Joey Manu type of mold, like, there's games where Joey Manu doesn't even get used like the Joey Manu is what everything said. Like, if you actually watch the Roosters currently lately, like, they're not playing a lot of, like, they're playing everything off Sammy Walker, direct football. They're not using a link man like that. Like, Victor Radley's moved to an edge now. They're using a front rowers at 13 because they want direct play. They play straight off the ruck, and Sammy Walker's just using, Joey Manu off the edge. He's not really coming off his edge as much anymore to play through the middle. Roger was playing through the middle, and that's where a lot of his meters did come from early part of the season. He averaged, 160 meters playing out in that center, try to get through his work with his hands on the ball out of the back end. And defensively, both of them are great, right? I think Bomps is a really good defender, but I think it's just the difference of the type of defense that both these guys have. So you got Roger that will shut things down pretty early and quickly because he's a quicker body. He moves out there quicker. Or you got the more relaxed center of Adam Pompey that uses his wingspan more so to really cover down those defensive shifts. And sometimes it can get caught on the outside, but a lot of times he can cover that because of his length, and he's great with that position there. So I prefer a defensive system with Roger there, but I like the attacking ability of Pompey with the line running and, the offloads, the post-contact meters, that sort of look of Pompey. So I'm conflicted in multiple different minds, but what Levon brought up in our last live stream on Wise Up TV, shameless little plug, kind of like this SENZ sort of look there. No,
I love how you called him LeBron too. That's high praise.
Yeah. But the whole thought of maybe him coming off the bench and sort of it sucks to hear that because, we signed Roger. He's a big signing, that sort of look there. But it sparked my interest because I heard there was on the podcast, I'm pretty sure it was Levels podcast with Justin Horro talking about how he was talking to someone about how the Queensland utilised Michael Morgan back in the past off the bench and being like a 2 fullback look. So at one point there, you were bringing him off the bench and you had JT play with Billy Slater out on one side, and on the other edge, you had Michael Morgan tee up with Cooper Cronk, or vice versa, you know what I mean? So you had 2 shifting, sweeping out back players, and would more so look like that Roger will probably be defending in the middle, but playing like a second fullback in our attacking plays down the other end. Does that interest you boys at all? Or do you reckon that's going a bit too crazy and stuff? I like to be laid back and positions are positions, that sort of stuff. But it intrigues me a little bit there. I think he's a big enough body to defend and do well there, do that job properly. But I think Roger coming off the bench just seems so weird for fans out there being a big signing in that. But what's your thoughts on that, Zane? Do you have any thought on that, playing off the bench?
I agree with you on the defensive side of things. But you look at, I didn't watch a lot of him in rugby, but his natural instinct is to step off his left foot and cut back in. Yeah. And one of the big things is it's really hard to judge him because the ball was getting so sideways by the time Tamati was getting it while RTS was there. So they were just literally running him out of either Tamati would have to go himself or he'd give it to RTS with literally nowhere to go, but he was still running for 200 plus meters. So he's getting 120 odd more meters than Rocco or Pompey, another 70 over Montoya. So you've got those attacking meters, which are really important. But I'm just trying to think of back when he played fullback. I don't think he was a distributing fullback, which is why I think they play Chance there. He has got the ball playing. So that game where he's coming through the middle and just using his step like a Ponga, when he's or Pappenhausen attacking around the ruck, or out wide on the wing where he gets the ball off a kickoff and he's got 20 meters of space to use in front of him, is kind of where I feel like I'm. But a mate of mine's trying to convince me he should be in the second row, and I don't hate the idea. Like a Ewan Aiken kind of, he's probably got a lot more to offer than Ewan Aiken, and he goes all right there. I don't know, but all of these
what you need to do, Ash, is just like lobby the NRL to change the interchange rule, so we can just have Roger on defense and Pompey on attack, and just interchanges all game.
We'll turn it to the NFL, bro. Have a defensive unit and then have an attacking unit.
Yeah, or like the NHL, where they just come off the boards and the next one comes on quickly.
Yeah. But preferably for me, right? Like it's wild because like I do believe that Roger can be a great center, and then like I think that I don't know whether it's just me. Maybe I'm looking at like rosy-colored glasses, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, that sort of stuff. But when you look at the best centers in the competition, a lot of times they don't get a lot of great ball. Like you look at like Herbie Farnworth, stuff like that. He doesn't really distribute very well, but he gets through a ton of meters, gets through a ton of work that way. And the Dolphins make that work to make it look great. The Broncos have made that work in the past to make that look good. You look at your Isaac Tungos of the world and all that sort of stuff. There's like very similar. Like he had stats that were comparatively even better to those centers, but it was just because he wasn't getting great ball in those attacking positions that a lot of fans were like, Roger's not a good center. He's not a good center. It was like, for me, I just saw it as like, honestly, our unit wasn't working hard enough together to like work together as a team, hit those direct lines to really set up space. And as you said, Zane, like with us going too sideways, you know what I mean? Like we're cutting off a lot of his space a lot of those times. Like I feel like Bomps is getting a lot of great ball on that edge due to like the line running of Mitch Barnett, the amount of space we're creating on that side. It'd just be interesting to see 1 or 2 games with Roger there just to give it another go and see what's really going on. But I am coming back to the whole thing of playing him on the wing with Monty. Like I feel for Monty, man. I loves Monty energy. So it's like, it's breaking my heart either way.
This is what it's going to suck in Warriors fans from now on, is there's so many players we're going to love that aren't going to be in the start. And that's like when I did the review with what's his name from Warriors Anonymous? What's his name? Jared. Yeah, like trying to say who should be starting and who shouldn't. I hate saying it because you just want all your favorite players out there, but we're going to have a lot of good players playing in Cup.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, imagine, to your point, probably, Ash, if the problem wasn't Roger, if the problem was what we were just talking about, the ball being too lateral by the time it got to him, imagine putting him in the team that we've seen over the last 3 games. What that could add and how good he would be in that system. I'm not saying that, there wasn't certain things that he wasn't doing right, but I just think, to your point, like you give him another shot or two in this sort of new confidence that we've got and see if it can explode something, because I have a feeling that it might. Boys, I'm going to run. I'm already over time and I'm going to get in a lot of trouble from the other half.
Yeah, great catch up, man.
My tip is that the game's going to Golden Point on Saturday, okay? And I think we do. I think we win it, but I think it goes to Golden Point. Either that or there's going to be a last-minute field goal, but it's going to be very, very tight. Like it's going to come right down to the wire. It's going to be a Xavier Coates, except it's going to be Dallin. And it'll be the first time since 2015 that we've beaten the Warriors. It'll be the first time. The Storm. It'll be the first time for a lot of the Warriors guys they've actually beaten the Storm. There's a whole bunch of guys in that team who don't know what it's like to beat the Melbourne Storm. And funnily enough, the last time the Warriors beat the Melbourne Storm, Tohu Harris was playing for them. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be awesome. We're going to be on the concourse for SENZ. So if you want to come and say hi, we're generally next to the donuts. That's where I like us to be parked up. Convenient access to the donut stand. And obviously we'll be live. I think we're live from 6:15 down there, and with the call at 7:30. So good to chat to you, boys. Sorry, I've got to shoot.
All good.
Sammy.
Soon.
Thanks,
Keep
Sam.
up the good work, Sammy.
Thanks, boys.
Thanks. Cheers.
Now look.
So yeah, last thing before we get to that point too, guys, like when I say all this too, it's not taking any away from Pompey, because like I've really loved to see, like the big thing I love to see at the moment too is all the Warriors fans coming back on all their thoughts on Adam Pompey after what happened to him. You know, like Zane, you know you're big on this. You did a podcast with him, talked about a lot of this, but like we've all seen, like Pompey's a good center. He's done a lot of good work. He's goal kicking good. He got slated for it last year, but it's so good to see the fans fall in love with him as well. And that's why I was like, I don't want to take that away either, because it's so good to see the fans rally around someone like Adam Pompey, that we've seen good things out of him. It's just the narrative's completely flipped on that guy too. So just positive thoughts around Pomps. He's incredible, guys. Whatever way it goes, like stay around him. I think he's a good player, and he'll probably find his way back in the first grade again soon. But yeah, who knows? Like it's a really interesting argument there with RTS, like wing, center, off the bench. He's playing 6. I've heard all the talk around Roger.
It's interesting because like Pompey, I can't recall him being owned by anyone over the past 18 months. And he's dominated to a certain extent. He's outplayed. I wouldn't say he's dominated, but he's, I've got clear memories of him like just palming off Val Holmes and stuff. And but no one's claiming he's absolutely world class, and we know that Roger can be. So we kind of want him to work a lot, and just it's the energy and the explosiveness that probably, makes people shine towards him. But Rocco and Pompey, like you've got the speed and the dynamic guys inside and outside them. Their job is facilitators and defending, whereas a lot of fans, they want to see the Latrell on a game like he had on the weekend in our centres, and that's just not the way we're playing. So I'm happy. I know that Webby will make the right choice whichever way he goes, but my hunch is he'll go to left wing.
Yeah, and the debate around Roger obviously is quite an interesting one. Like I personally, I think I'd like to see him on the wing there, but it's tough because Montoya's been playing great. So, and of course Berry and Pompey, you just can't leave them out of the 17 right now. I just can't drop either of them based on form. And Pompey is a credit to Pompey, because I've probably been the biggest critic of Pompey. I mean, I'm happy to admit that. And I'm happy to be proven wrong as well.
I don't think you're even close to being the biggest critic.
No, you're not, bro. You're not the biggest critic, bro.
But I mean, it's great to see him playing so well. It really is great to see. And I think last year we saw some glimpses of him last year as well, like the way he's been playing there last year. So he's just doing a great job at the moment. And his goal kicking as well. So I'm impressed with his goal kicking.
The other thing is, Christian, what we as fans don't know is what those guys have been asked to do. And,
exactly.
The complexities of their roles. And you heard when I interviewed Chance, I said, man, tell me what we don't know. And he just said, well, the first time I met the guy, his intelligence and ability to comprehend and read the defensive structures was next level. How do we as fans judge that, right? Similar with Bunty is where he's positioned when he's not on the ball that no one judges. So, it's easy as in your emotions, you look at the great plays or the drop balls, but we don't look at the little fundamentals like Rocco Berry, his ability to take that step inside to straighten, get the guys to turn a shoulder in before he flicks it to Dallin. And people say he can't attack. Well, how did Dallin get 22, or what is it, 24 tries or something last year?
Yeah. Yep.
Exactly. You don't get that without a decent centre.
There's a key point here too that could sway the way of Roger playing on the wing, as what you guys are saying too, is like they're touching on the goal kicking ability of Adam Pompey, and whether we want Shawnee back as our goal kicker, especially Shawnee's injury history. Like, it sucks to always bring up Shawnee's injury history and all that sort of stuff, but I feel like having another kicking option, we saw Luke Metcalf do a lot of it for periods at the start of the season, but when having Pompey in there, who is kicking at I think it was 89% last time I checked. I think he's only he's missed 2 goals this year. Like and it's not been there's a lot of hard ones there too. Like, Dal loves scoring in the corner, this and that. Like, he slotted a lot of good ones against the Cowboys over the weekend. So it's not like, he's getting easy kicks here, left, right, and center. But I think that's another thing that could sway the way of Adam Pompey keeping his spot. is him being our full-time goal kicker as well, and just resting Shawnee to focus on his game and really nail down Shawnee's game of being the in-game kicker and those sort of things, and not tweak certain things, just goal kicking and that sort of stuff. So that's another option there too. So there's so much food for thought. And again, with what you said, Warriorholic, bro, like trust in Webby. He's going to make the right decision. I do trust in that. And even if he doesn't make the right decision in the first place, he'll make the right decision at the end of the day. Like he learns things, and we've seen that from our coach throughout both these seasons here. He's learned from a lot of his issues, and he's really fixed it up in quick time too. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what happens.
Yeah, just actually reading some of the comments, and Chris is saying here, but here's the thing: just because Rogers has the name, Pompey is a genuine centre. Sometimes just because you are good at one position does not mean you'll be good at the other. So we can't experiment now, is what basically Chris is saying. And so what do you reckon there? What are your thoughts on the comment that Chris has just made there?
I think yeah, that well, like, you know, it's a bit late to be experimenting, but
yeah,
we don't know what's been going on the past 2 weeks in training, right? They're pretty full on like game simulations, and Webby will have seen it. Similar with how SJ plays with Tamati Martin. Those guys would have been playing together for the past 2 weeks. Webby will make the right decision, in my opinion.
Yeah, and on the back of that, like, you know, there's so many like different like I've heard so many different things that people want Roger to play second row, plays Roger at 6. Like so many people want to play him in other different positions anyway that are not the preferred Roger position. So that comment has double entendres in it. Like, but just what you know from Roger is he's a world-class athlete. Like, first of all, he's an athlete. He's shown that he has good footy IQ. There's certain different things that he could be a great centre. Like we've seen players like, you know, Joey Manu kill it in the fullback position, play centre like that too. Like there's so many players that are versatile enough to play multiple different positions. And there's even like food for thought. I was going to bring this up with you guys before when we're talking about the hooker rotation and players like that. But the food for thought of like halfbacks playing hooker and looking like more so of like the better looking hooker than a hooker that's coming up through grade and, you know, learning that system of how to be a hooker. You're starting to notice it through the competition. First time I started to fully notice it, obviously when Paulie Roach came in, and this is your point, Warriorholic too, of like the way Paulie played in that hooker position in such a short amount of time, because the majority of his games in Cup were legit as that 7, that halfback look, or even at 14 off the bench and being in that halfback look. But when you start to notice like some of the best hookers in the competition, like a Jerry Marshall King came through the grade as a halfback, transferred into a hooker, playing amazing there. Benny Hunt on like the State of Origin stage becomes the best hooker in the competition. Like, you know, there's like a majority of like, there's like countless different examples of that. Like, is there a thing to that? Like maybe the thought process of a halfback going into hooker, knowing the ball that a halfback wants, knowing, you know, the eyes up and counting numbers and stuff like that. Even Wade Egan apparently came up through grade as a halfback and then transferred to a hooker. Like there's so many countless like examples of that argument too. Like what's your thoughts on that, Warriorholic, bro? Like, you know, seeing it with Paulie Roach, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of like players like that can transfer there and show their ability, footy IQ, and really work at that position. And
interestingly, in New Zealand, like you look at the Warriors, like how many of the guys come up from Union, and the guy I'm really excited about, we haven't seen much this year because of the concussion he got, is Etuate Fukufuka, who's an ex-Union halfback. His pass is next level. You know, he's like a mini Petty Whipper with his kicking game and his all-round running game. So I think there's a lot of similarities that learning to control the flow of a game at halfback and then going in. But it just comes down to the pass. And it's, you know, chatting with that Toby Crosby today when I did the interview, was like, I said to him, if you could go back and do anything again and go back to when you were in high school, for those who don't know, he's a Jersey Flegg prop, played for Cup. Gun, those who haven't joined in, but he said he spent so much time working on his fitness and his speed and his strength, but not enough time on his skills. And I often look at NRL players and shake my head that they can't kick and pass better because that's all they do for a job, you know. So, you know, maybe it is you start out when you're younger playing in the halves, you do pass a lot more. And hookers are potentially guys who can tackle really well and not quite big enough to play in the prop and not quite good enough to be in the halves. I don't know. But I think
you don't see a lot of Yeah, you don't see a lot of junior hookers because when I played hooker, like my first time playing footy in that, like I was just honestly taught just to play it off the deck to your halfback and just tackle. That's all you got to do. Just get through the work in the middle and all that. And I never touched like top grade and like bang hooker or anything like that. But just knowing like, you know, hookers coming through their junior grades and that, I just told just that. And not having the freedom and the ability to play like, you know, a Wade Egan out of the ruck and just looking one way, go the other way, that sort of certain look that halfbacks are just allowed to be like, all right, you got your team, you control your team, do what you want there. You got unders, balls. There's so many different plays you got in your head. Like, I think there's a new wave of that where like you're going to see a lot of halves really convert into that hooker role and really make it their own. Again, like my key example is like Jeremy Marshall King, who, you know, came through the Doggies wanting to be a 7 due to Benji Marshall, obviously being, you know, a nephew of Benji and all that, or, you know, cousin of Benji. Or is it a brother? I think he's a brother or something like that. But converting, half brother, and converting into one of the best hookers in the competition. Like Paulie Roach is in a similar mold for me. And you can start to see it a little bit too. So I'm excited to see his development in that hooker role there too.
Yeah. Do you guys reckon like with obviously with the hookers now we've got? Do you reckon we need any more like players to sign any more hookers? Because like there's talks around Brandon Smith, but I saw someone posted a couple of days ago.
Now that's basically there's a rumor around that he needs to get out of Australia for some reason. That leaves him very few options. That started that, but I think my biggest priority is we've got to sign Carwin Patterson to a long-term deal. That kid has got something special, and we haven't. I'm going to ask you guys. I can't recall us ever having developed a world-class hooker out of the Warriors juniors, other than Nate Roach could have been that guy, but due to his injuries, he didn't. So, to me, Carwin Patterson, like him and was it Lomax? Was it Lomax? What's his last name? The 13. From Harold Matts, those two guys, but he's the future for me. And young, what's his name? The SG ball hooker who's playing in Cup.
Not Olua?
Yeah, Olua. Yeah, he's another good player, but he just doesn't quite have the same Christmas of pass. So, and you've got, like I said, you got Etuate and the guy
Talfa. What do you think of Talfa?
Yeah, he's stepped up. Like he's a guy. Like where did he come from? So. I don't really think we need to jump in there anymore. I mean, you look at hookers and centres with the two positions, we always thought we needed more. We've got that young fella Kahu coming in next year as well. You've got Ali Lautau, you've got Seo Kali playing in the centres, mostly in Cup. Retention,
junior development's on, bro. It's looking really, really nicely, and like that's the whole thing. It's like I don't think we'll end up being the team to go on spending sprees much anymore. I think the whole process of our club at the moment is from developing within, and Webby's really showing that through the system that's going through down our whole organization currently right now. Like you know, Zane just numbered off like that many hookers and that we got going through the grade, but I'm sure there's a lot more that are, you know, watching football currently right now and wanting to play rugby league from junior. That's changed a lot now from New Zealand back in the day where everyone wanted to be, you know, playing rugby union. So this is just starting. This is just beginning. And we're going to see a lot more talent come through the competition because we know the Kiwis have a ton of talent. Like New Zealand's got a ton of talent. It just was yet to be tapped in the rugby league space. So it's finally happening and that's exciting. 1,800
or something applications they had. I think it was for the Harold Matts trial.
Oh, that's crazy. And it will only get bigger, bro. It will only get bigger. It'll only get bigger.
Yeah, mate. I mean, I just really want to see a bit of these Jersey Flag boys, other ones we haven't really seen yet. There's a couple of guys that sort of come up into Cup for 1 or 2 games. But yeah, it's a shame that they can't do a deal with Sky and get, whenever they play locally, that they play the Flag and the Cup games a bit more often with some decent camera angles. But props to Jared and his commentary and his Pacifica pronunciations. They're teaching me lessons. Oh, man.
Yeah,
and getting those getting the highlights up that aren't normally available as well, man. Props to them for that.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, and they're hard to find, you know, because like here in Australia, they don't really show the games either. Like the Harold Maths and the SG Ball, they only you have to pay for a subscription and they only show selected games. Like
exactly.
It's a bit disappointing, really. Like with the Queensland Rugby League, they show all the games. Like Ash would know this. The QRL, they do a subscription where you can watch the women's game,
every game.
and all the other grades as well, like the juniors and the
Well, they
senior
record
grade.
them all, right?
Yeah.
They record them
Yeah.
all for this for the judiciary, but they just don't have commentary. So it's like, I'm sure they could find a couple more guys like I reckon you'd be right on the mic actually. Ash, bro, put your hand up
Put
for
my
New
hand
South
up,
Wales
bro.
Cup
Hey,
TV.
I'll
Call
watch
it-
all Warriors games, bro. If
You're
they're gonna give
calling
me a
it
good
live
paycheck.
on YouTube half the time, so you may as well do like a live broadcast.
Oh,
I mean, that's
It'd
what.
be good, bro.
But it's also the coaching, right? You know, you're seeing
Mm.
the development of these coaches coming through, and the value of a guy like Cappy. Like a lot of
Yeah.
guys
Yeah.
kind of hummed and hard when he came back into the club, but shit, hasn't he nailed the recruitment and the amount of work
He
he's doing,
has.
developing guys like TJ and what's his name from Cup, David. Can't remember his name. The guy came from the Bulldogs. Terrible with the names, but
Fuck, on top of my head, bro. Yeah.
Tangata.
Here we go, bro.
something
You're
or other.
there. You're there. You're
I'm
there.
so
You're
close.
there.
Oh, you know, but imagine being him trying to coach a team when you've got no idea who's going to be on your roster until like Thursday night.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
they're winning.
Well, even in that period, bro, when we went on down streak, we had the amount of injuries that we had, and all those cup boys had to step up, play first grade. We were even getting wins in our cups grade through then. That just shows the development that's happening beneath. Like our SG ball guys, our flag guys all stepped up there and are doing an amazing job down there. Definitely in lower grade and all that. Like it's so good to see, and it's like something that it should have been tapped into maybe a lot earlier. Like there was probably but it's happening at the perfect time too, and it kind of like. It shows too, like, as you said, with Cappy, the signings and stuff like that we've been making. Like, I know a lot of people thought that, all the big signings we had, and obviously, like, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, Kurt Capewell, was more so to push us to be a grand final team and to win a grand final, right? But I think there's a little bit more deeper thoughts than that. And it was more so the thoughts of, like, these boys that had disrupted development coming up through, but they have the talent. They're just untapped a little bit there, right? Having a little bit more time with them in Cup and really try to bring them through. And that's why kind of Webby is so like maybe not wanting to put Zion Mai'u in there for a longer minutes and Laban's and not stunt their growth at all and all that. But having those experienced guys around the camp and just turn it, like show them like, this is how you get into first grade. This is how you work hard. Like those are the key signings for those reasons. I know everyone was like, grand final, like we got Kurt Capewell, grand final experience. We got Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, like Daly M winner. But I think there was more to that. I think it was more of the fact of experience that you bring it back to the club to filter down for the next years. That's why I think it's like, it's not just this window here now for a premiership. It's building a window for the next foreseeable future. It's not wanting to win 1 or 2 years. It's for 10 years, like the Panthers have been doing. You know what I mean?
You look at what guys like Fish, like he's probably past his peak, but you hear that story. Billy Slater talks about the young fella from Newcastle there. What's his name? Man, I'm bad with the names tonight. Leo Thompson spends a week in camp with Fisher Harris and comes back a different man. So getting him in and around guys like Zion Mai'u, even then when you look at the Cup team this week, how strong it looks, but there's no Ali Lauato, there's no Setutu, there's no Sio Kali. And then you've got to bring in a guy like Jet Cleary next year as well. Where does he fit into the equation now? Tamati stepped up so well. We still haven't got Luke Metcalf. Who's playing 6 when Metcalf's back with the way Tamati's going? Imagine, next year you could have one of those two and Jet Cleary as your halves in Cup. It's ridiculous.
And like, this week in Cup, as you said, like you got Sifakula and guess who's the guy next to him? You got Bunty Afar, an experienced first grader that's down in Cup now and going to show those younger boys is like, this is the hard work you got to get to, right? And then even when Roger comes back, well, whoever's going to drop out of the team, you got Pompey, Montoya, and it may even be Roger. Like a lot of people are like, it could be any of that. Imagine being next to Roger Tuivasa-Sheck in New South Wales Cup and learning off him, all the little things, or even Marcelo Montoya, the energy he brings to a club and the experience he's had being from the Bulldogs and being dropped from the Bulldogs and then getting picked up. He's got so much experience around the game. He could show a lot of these younger boys. And I think that's the key area that I know everyone wants a premiership now. And it's so good. Like as a Warriors fan, everyone wants a premiership, right? But like this has been built for a long-term plan, and I think it's all coming together slowly but surely. And you know, next year, well, even the end of this year, you got even more players that could drop down to cup. Next year, you got Fisher coming in. It's really really exciting to be a Warriors fan, not just for now, but for the future.
Yeah. Well said. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Like, you know, the future is very bright for the club. Like, you know, we've got full trust in what the club's doing, the owners and Cappy and obviously Webby there as well. So like everything the club's doing at the moment is heading in the right direction, because now we've got those pathways. The pathways are so important. Like I've been so high on the pathways, and for many years that we've not been have those pathway system, and then that's really important as well.
But it's also the attitude, right? Like they're bringing in what Joel Kane calls tide risers, right?
Yeah.
Kurt Capewell might not be the guy pounding down the door necessarily on the field, but you know the professionalism of him and RTS. You know, you don't find a harder trainer than RTS. And when you're seeing that as the guy between you and the first grade jersey, you're going to have to start working or you're going to get dropped. And as much as it sucks to see a guy like Curran go, when you hear he's the last at training and the first to go, it's not who you need. And that's not the role model you want for these young fellas.
Exactly, bro. Exactly.
Yeah. Just Chris here saying it's awesome. Thanks, guys. Got to go back to pretending to work up the wires. Let's go, boys. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, Chris. Appreciate that.
Chris,
and really appreciate that, Chris. Also, Jacko saying, I think Bunty has a calf injury, apparently. Well, Jacko's currently saying. But he's playing in the cup this week. So,
yeah,
sure there.
His big calves, bro.
Great calves. Not many beat me, but, bro. So what do you guys reckon is going to happen on the weekend?
Yeah, right. So the game this week, I reckon I'm actually quite confident. Yeah, really confident, because I feel like the boys will have a lot of confidence leading into this one, and obviously having Sean back as well, and Melbourne obviously doing quite well. They're sitting really high up. They're sitting on the top of the ladder at the moment. So I am quite confident. Like the last time we played Melbourne, we were very close. We probably could have got that one done there, unfortunately. But just I like the looks of our team, our 4-pack, and our bench as well. I think really strong bench, and our forwards as well. And I'm actually very confident of us getting the win. Really, I'd probably say Warriors. If I had to pick a margin, I'd say Warriors by 12 points at least. I think. I think we can get the job done. Actually, I really do. And I think obviously the key for me, the key players. You got Shawnee there as well, Tamari. Those for me are the forwards, and obviously with Storm is probably Jerome Hughes. I think stopping Jerome Hughes as well. So, what do you reckon, Warriorholic? What do you reckon?
I think the biggest thing that concerns me is Ali Katoa and Blaw's offloads. I think they've got like something like 40 offloads, 45 offloads between them. And we know that we struggle a little bit with ad-lib play, particularly with the speed out wide. So that's why I like the fact that we've got Mitch Barnett and Marata on the edges, who are more than capable of wrapping a guy up one-on-one if they have to. But if you look at, it's not often that I'll look at a Storm 4-pack and think, we should be able to get up and over these guys. We have Munster not being there, Hughes. Like that guy is just an annoying and Pappenhausen. But for me, it's Coates as well. I hate the Storm. I do quite like that guy, but he's just got that ability to win a game. So they've got those individual players, but I feel like if we just click as a unit, and we let a try in, we score a try straight back. We don't let those 20, 30-minute periods get on top of us, or let the team get on top of us for 20 or 30 minutes. Then we should be right. But the biggest thing working against the Warriors is I haven't won a game this year when I've watched with other people, and I'm going to the game live. So it's about that.
Yeah. So you're going to the game this this
bro.
week,
Yeah, mate. Flying up on Saturday morning. Can't wait.
Oh,
so
nice.
First time I've ever seen the Storms live. So I'm hoping that I walk away with 100% success rate.
Yeah. My thoughts on the game, bro. Like, if you take a look at the sides overall, like I think wherever Grant Anderson and Dina Iramera line up, if they line up as they're comparing together on a side, I reckon that should be definitely the area we wanted to attack on. Most likely seeing Grant Anderson last week was on the right edge. I think he was outside of Nick Meaney last week, if I do remember correctly, and Xavier Coates coming off the left wing. So Dean Iramira would be the more inexperienced centre playing on that side. And that's our preferred side to attack, obviously, with Dallin running on that right side and Sean Johnson coming back and having, Marata Niakore outside of him running those devastating lines and really creating space on the outside. I could really see us opening up stuff like that. The worry for me is a lot of what Melbourne do well is get themselves in a good field position to strike with certain players like, Fa'alongo currently right now. He's a lightning rod, his speed. And that's the one thing we do kind of miss, obviously, as a Warrior, as a squad, we miss the speed that we have. Especially when it comes to scrum play, we need to shut down on him as quickly as possible. He'll throw up a mean goosey in and away. You just have to see the Titans games if you want to see any sort of look of Sua Fa'alongo, first off the ruck, out of, off a scrum, getting on the outside of players. He's got the speed to burn. And I'm sure with players like Marata Niakore, how he covers on that edge and really pushes the boys out, we can shut down on that pretty early. Again, as Warriorholic said, the players you need to watch out for. Eli Katoa is a big name for me. We didn't get to see a lot of him in our first game against him. Obviously, Marcelo Montoya rubbed him out for a majority of the game in that last one. Shout out, Mars. Hopefully he does it again. But Eli's been incredible this year, and I have him up there at least top 3 or top 4 edge backer on the competition on form right now. He's incredible, bro. The step
Big
up
work
in
rate,
his
eh?
ability, bro, he is grown to the player that we saw as a Warriors fan. We saw the potential in him. We just were unable to do that in the past Warriors development system and all that coming through the grade. But Melbourne has just got their hands around him and just do what Melbourne seem to do, just create these guys like that. And playing outside of Jerome Hughes that always has worldy games against the Warriors, that's the worrying part for me. And they're obviously going to be spotting up on, Tamati Martin and Mitch Barnett. But that's what makes me feel a little bit more safe, is having Mitch Barnett on that side dictating terms there with Eli Katoa, because I know Mitch Barnett's going to take it to him and take it to him really early. So I'm excited to see that overall. For me, scoreline wise, I think it's going to be close. I'm thinking a 24-20 sort of contest, because I always just think that Melbourne always find their way into the battle. You got Nelson Asofa Solomona coming off the bench. He plays worldy against us as well. It's just Kiwis that play against the Warriors. They just want to have great performances. We hate it, but it just always happens. I think to get over that hump, it's going to be a close game, but I do believe we'll get over that hump this one. I can see this being a victory for us, but there is some strike that we got to watch out for with the Melbourne Storm, because their attack's unreal. Defensively, they're slipping off just a tiny bit, so I can really see this being a 24-20 sort of contest, in my opinion.
Man, yeah. Feel bad for you and I, we get fired up and all of these guys are writing all of these cool comments, but we're not managing to get to them. So thanks everyone for giving us your comments and stop
Appreciate
sorry for talking
guys.
over you. I'm thinking probably 4 tries to 3 to us. Problem with us is we always score them out wide. So need a couple of AFB for first try scorer. Just to put a couple of dollars on that one. Sean Johnson was paying $29 for first try scorer. One of the guys on Facebook put $50 on. But yeah, I think that'll come down to it's goal kicking. Meaney's pretty bloody good with his goal kicking. Seems like it's only be about 5 kilometers or 5 meters per second wind or something. So not much wind there. Shouldn't be raining. Just got to get the crowd fired up. Keep thinking that's Jazz Manga commenting.
Yeah, good on Jazzy. Freak. Always commenting, Jazzy.
Yeah.
But a couple of stats that kind of maybe will help people make their decisions too. Coming into this game, the Storm are a bottom 4 team currently right now of run meters. So that's their work rate out of their back end is not as good as what, maybe past, Melbourne Storm teams that their forward pack isn't get the normal roll on as they used to do in the past. Obviously the Warriors, we're top 2 currently right now for run meters. So we get to our field position so well. Melbourne usually, they like to strike from long range sort of tries to break open a game, those sort of contests sort of thing. It's not usually coming from, back-to-back efforts on a try line, that sort of thing, where our game majoritively is, put a lot of pressure on the other team's try line before they crack, sort of very similar to the Panthers. And another worrying stat Well, the worrying stat on our side is the Storm are second right now for line breaks in the competition. So they're one of the best teams at creating line breaks. And we were one of the worst teams right now for conceding line breaks. We slowly withered that back a little bit. We're fifth most currently right now. At one point, I think we were top 3 for the worst conceding line breaks, which was really worrying in that little period there. But defensively, we've come together a lot better the last couple of weeks, only conceding 17.3 points per game in the last 3 games. So that's a really, really good stat coming into this one. So in form, defensively, we are up to this task. You just need to hold together, no line breaks, especially when you got Harry Grant and all those sort of, sniffing around. They're just such a moment type team. They
Watch those
they
40,
pick the right
20s
moments.
from that bastard. Watch the 40,
Exactly. Exactly, bro. It's just that they're a moments team. That you think you're over the top of the Melbourne Storm, next minute 40-20, they turn the game on their head. So we need to really run with the momentum, weather the storm, yeah, there's a little joke there for you guys. And then just come home strong. 24-20, guys. I really do sit on that one.
Oh, mate. Hey, just one quick question. I've got a couple of notes here. Is the rumors that Jazz has been offered a kind of a low ball offer and he's trying to play for a little bit more. Personally, I'd like to see him for another couple of years. Because he's a guy who does drop down to cup and he ran for something like 220 meters when he went to cup against the Jets. But just a guy that at any time you can bring up who is genuine first grade and impactful, that, you need to bring guys like Laban and Leka Halasima next year and Sifakula up and down as you go. But he's just a guy as a depth signing I'd like to see us keep. One club guy. What do you guys reckon? Are you keeping him?
Yeah, I'd definitely keep him. I'd definitely offer him a one. Actually, I'd offer him a 2-year deal. Actually, if I was the Warrior, the club, I like what Jazz brings. He's one of those tough players, a no nonsense type player that we need at the club, and I think he brings that energy as well that Jazz does. So it's obviously hard for him to get into the side Detroit because there's a lot of these other players that are stepping up and they're well ahead of him at the moment. But like Jazz, I think there's still
actually it's not though, is
a
it?
spot for him on the bench. Definitely.
He's always on the bench when he's available, so we must rate him.
Yes.
I think his cleanup work for the middle of the ruck is so undervalued. He's legs tackles. He just cuts man down twice the size of him. He gets through a ton of defensive work, but even in attack, the hit and spin he has, the energy he brings off the bench is such a big asset to us currently right now. And line speed, exactly. And you saw it last year when we had the Bald brothers coming off the bench, 2 together with that leg speed for the middle. It's just an up tempo sort of attack. I'd love to keep him around as much as we can. To low ball him, I feel for that because it's he is one of those players at the club that I know for sure he loves the Warriors. And I hope the Warriors aren't using that as a tool of you will take unders for us because you love the club, you're a Kiwi. Other teams, they may offer you a little bit, but we know you're going to stick around. Sort of with Shawnee getting offered big money from the Roosters. We kind of just know that Shawnee's not going to go to the Roosters anymore. I think he's happy being at home. Jazzy's I love the Warriors. I don't see him in any other jersey, but I hope the Warriors give him a little bit and be, come on, mate. We respect you. Continue at the club because I think he's, again, a lot of experience. Pharrell Jr. is coming up. Being a smaller body, the defensive work he gets through, I think he's a perfect guy to really gatekeep a lot of the big, up-and-comers that we have coming from beneath, like Zions and Sifakulas and stuff like that. I think he brings so much energy and they'll be perfect for our squad for the future, bro. So, yeah, I love it. If we do sign him, continue, up the value a little bit, boys. Come on, get him on board.
Maybe put an OnlyFans, well, not OnlyFans, what do you call it?
We could do that.
Yeah. Actually, come on, guys. What do they call it? A give a little page. Bro, this guy's making a fortune off his. He's making a fortune off his life, so he could subsidize. No, bro, I'm looking forward to it. I reckon sign him up. Good depth signing going forward. That's pretty much all we need now. Now we've got Jacko in the front.
100%. I agree there, bro.
Yeah, and lastly, just lastly before we get on out of here, what the Storm Warriors matches? What would you say is your favorite memory of the Storm Warriors match? A favorite memory, favorite Storm Warriors game? Because I've got a couple. I would go back to that 2008 game. where Michael Witt scored that incredible try.
That's a
He
big
did
one.
not
Eh?
look like he was going to put the ball down, and Ivan was like, what is he doing? And also that 2011 game, against the Storm in Melbourne as well, one of my favourites as well. So, what do you reckon, Ash? What is your favourite Warriors Melbourne Storm matchup?
Yeah, it'd have to be for me the 2011 Sean Johnson, the unders ball, and given to Lewis Brown in the corner, like that. So, like, my journey to being a Warriors fan, obviously, is like Sean Johnson is a major part of like why I'm a Warriors fan, and seeing a lot of the highlights he did coming up for the grade, like, obviously the YouTube highlights, his touch highlights, incredible. Under 20s, like I used to tune into as many games as I could to watch Sean Johnson before he got into first grade, and just like the spark he had. And then when he did that on the big stage, this is finals time, like he coming in against the Melbourne Storm side, like hit an unders ball, bang, Cooper Cronk looking both ways, like, where is it? What's going on? Like, that's one of the biggest memories for me. There's another little underrated one. I can't pinpoint the year. I think it was the year that we had the white jersey, the white Anzac jersey that had the red poppies and stuff on it. I just remember us being, I think there was a moment that year. I think it wasn't the best year for us, but we held into that game for a decent period from memory. I can't nail down too many pieces in that, but I just remember that watching that game with friends and just thinking like Tohu Harris, I think he was playing the 6 in that game from memory or whatever. Just the Warriors mentality of just no matter, just continue turning up. And I saw it in that game. And I think for me, that sticks in memory. I can't nail down the year, what that was, but I just remember seeing that with friends and just being so proud of my team with the friends next to me. I think we still got beat by probably a decent margin in that game because Melbourne just seemed to have the rub on us, especially in Anzac Day. But yeah, just the Warriors mentality. But the big one, Sean Johnson, bro. Sean Johnson, unders in the corner, Lewis Brown, bang. Let's go, baby.
And I'm bloody terrible at remembering games and years and stuff, but it's not a whole game, but I think the opening to our game against them in Melbourne last year was pretty amazing. That first sort of 20-odd minutes where we just absolutely carved them up until we got nailed by injuries and penalties and so forth. Just showed, and even this year, we showed when we get our... Webby always makes me laugh. He says, people say we're predictable, but when we play a game plan well, no one can stop us, and now it's coming.
Exactly.
And I think we've shown that a couple of times over the past couple of years of what we can do to Melbourne when we focus, but it's a case of being focused for 80. But yeah, I'd stick with 2018 and 2008 and 2011. That's about all I can remember. And you guys have covered it, but it's going to be Saturday night. It's going to be a new memory. It's going to eclipse the performance of last week. Bet your house on it.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, got to be. Yeah, got to be. So, yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up, guys. So, yeah, thanks to Ash and thanks to Warriorholic for, giving up their time to come on and have a chat. And also thanks to Sammy as well, who came on a bit earlier. He had to jet off. He's obviously a busy man. So thanks to Sammy for at least for coming on for a bit there and having a chat. It was good to have him on. And yeah, shout out to Sammy Hewat. So yeah, go and check out the SENZ there. What they do is some great work, great content as well. Also he does his commentary with he does commentary work as well. So yeah, go and check him out. But thanks Ash for coming on. And thanks Warriorholic for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Look forward to catching you soon, guys.
Yeah,
thanks to everyone for all the message.
Yep. Thanks to everyone for all your comments and interactions in the chat. Really appreciate that all. Also, guys, go and subscribe to Ash's channel. Go and subscribe to Wise Up TV as well. Ash does a lot of good stuff there over in Wise TV. Good shout out to those Wise Up as well. They both do a great job with their shows as well and content. So they're leading the way at the moment in the Warriors content world, in my opinion. I think they're leading the way. But also go and check out Warriorholic as well as his stuff as well. So go and subscribe to him. But thanks everyone for tuning in. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel as well. Also to give this video a like the live stream, and make sure you click the bell so you're notified with all the new content coming up on the channel next. But thanks everyone for watching. Have a good one. Up the Wires, go the Warriors. Looking forward to Saturday night. And enjoy the footy as well. Enjoy the weekend. Have a good one, everyone. Have a good one.
Cheers.
Let's go.
Cheers.